One of the marvels of watchmaking, in my opinion, is the way in which we can bring together elements of nature, even chaotic elements of nature, elements perhaps that we've just barely mastered or barely understand, and bring them into order and even enjoyment in wristwatches. And that isn't necessarily the first thing you'd think of when you're looking at a big burly bronze diver like this Zelos Mako. But thematically, I think it actually holds up pretty well. Bronze, of course, the material that helped us master the seas, and of course brought us in part to the modern age, and a meteorite dial, which is completely unique and is again a sort of harnessing of cosmic elements into a watch that itself is pretty indestructible. So what we're going to do in this video today is just talk through my experience of longer term ownership with the Zelos Mako Bronze, a gorgeous and extremely robust version of the Mako. And I'm going to talk about how, in particular, I really enjoy that this watch exists in a segment that is reserved for up and coming brands that are still pricing their watches, which are very unique at an extremely accessible level. So stay tuned and we'll get into this watch. Alright, first of all, let's just talk a little bit about the specifications of this Mako. You're looking at a watch of a very reasonable size, 40 millimeters, with a 20 millimeter lug width, and what you're observing here is, in particular, a very doable 13.5 millimeter thickness, not including that little extra bit you get from the domed sapphire crystal. And of course you have a bezel here that's unidirectional, 120 clicks, and this has a bronze bezel. You could have also got it with a ceramic bezel that is filled with lume. You also have a small crown here that's inset on the case that is itself lumed, and I'll show you that in a little bit. Of course, we have the namesake of the Mako on the case back, along with the design specifications and the limited number run of this small batch of bronze watches. It's a combination of brushed and blasted finishes, and it looks absolutely great, and of course it ensures that your wrist isn't going to get stained by the bronze. It's pretty remarkable that you can get a seriously overbuilt 500 millimeter dive watch for under $1,000 that's using exotic materials. And the thing that I'm really pleased to report after long-term use of this watch is that not only does it look cool on paper, but it really holds up in person. The 120 click bezel with its lume is very high quality. The movement, which is a Sellita SW200 movement, has been easily as reliable as any of my ETA movements. And the overall wearing experience, because of the reasonable design specifications, it's not a large watch at 40 millimeters, has been just meant that this otherwise extremely overbuilt and sort of exotic watch hasn't been impossible to wear. With a watch like this, sometimes you have to sort of let the details sink in, and that's why I'm glad that I was able to wear this watch over most of the summer and really learn to appreciate some of the things that are unique about it. For example, the applied indices and the applied Zelos logo. Those are the kind of things that I thought, oh geez, well, this bronze case is going to start aging and those are still going to look really fresh, and that's going to be a contrast that's going to look kind of odd. But actually, after seeing this happen and enjoying the patina on the case and having the dial be still so pristine, what I've come to appreciate is the fact that you really are looking at a little atmosphere inside of this dive watch, which is true of every dive watch, that somehow its environment is preserved. So I don't know if that was an intended design theme, but if it was, very cool. You guys know I'm a sucker for details, especially with these somewhat boutique products, and so it was such a nice thing to see a really high quality bronze buckle made out of the exact same materials of the case, and having it be really, you know, just a high quality piece with brushed and polished elements, as well as the branding etched there subtly onto the buckle. Just a really nice quality piece that goes great with this waffle strap. This is the original rubber strap that came with the watch, and I haven't changed it. It's nice and thick without being kind of absurd or cartoonish, and it's been very comfortable on the wrist too, definitely not a hair puller. The unboxing experience of the Mako is also very high quality. You have a nice little cardboard sleeve here, and then a cigar box style of a box with a nice hinge on it, and then you have a watch roll made out of faux leather. And the dark blue and gray doesn't exactly match this watch, but I'm sure it would work on the blue dialed Makos really nicely. And it comes with a nice selection of things, a unique warranty card. This is the case that the watch came in originally, which was sealed, so that was nice that you got a absolutely fresh bronze watch when it came. A very cool leather strap with Zelos branding embossed on the back, and then a watch strap changing tool. The most remarkable feature, believe it or not, even more than the bronze and the burly diver design, is actually this meteorite dial, which was only available on this limited edition of the Mako. And it's totally unique. My understanding is that this is real meteorite. How cool is that? And it really, as I mentioned in the intro, gives a true sense of ruggedness and kind of you know, the thing that's interesting about it is it's not just rugged and tough and cool looking. This is really a fun watch. Like, this is, I think, what watchmaking can do so uniquely, which is unify disparate elements to make something that is cohesive and enjoyable. Here's a shot of the Mako on the wrist. Again, we're looking at a watch of 40 millimeters with a lug to lug of about 46 millimeters, 20 millimeter lug width for the strap, and then 13.5 millimeters thick. And you have this pronounced sapphire crystal, kind of reminiscent of a acrylic crystal. And it's heavy, no doubt, on the wrist, but manageable. And the 20 millimeter strap width definitely does a good job of keeping this watch secure, and the way that the lugs arch down definitely mean that the watch isn't bouncing around a lot. I have 7¼ inch wrists, and to my eyes the watch's footprint is totally reasonable on my wrists. Definitely a little bit on the thicker side, but nothing crazy, especially considering this is a sport and diving watch. And you know, of course, when the watch is on the wrist, sometimes it's just good to again mention reliability and timekeeping, and this watch has kept excellent time for me. Stellita movements have been very reliable in my experience. Zelos made a good decision going with the SW200, and especially for a summer watch, man, just gotta love the patina and the cool, aggressive, unique details of this watch. Really a fun summer watch. It's of course getting into fall here, and I'm still really enjoying it. Very unique watch, very nice dive watch from a small boutique maker. Of course, no watch is perfect, and I always want to offer a couple things that I think you know, I would have preferred to have seen differently. And the first thing I want to mention is, even though they went with a very subtle date aperture here at 6 o'clock, I would have loved it if it was round or somehow matched the indices better, or maybe even if it wasn't there at all. I mean, that might have been the pure dive watch decision. Another thing we can talk about are the triangle indices at 12, 3, and 9 o'clock, which to me even create a little bit less balance with that date aperture being where it is. Especially with this cool meteorite dial, I would have been fine with just the circle indices applied, even though that would have been a departure from the Mako design, just to create a little more space to enjoy that cool meteorite dial. This watch embodies so much of dive watch lore that it's going to be a very satisfying watch to have in a collection for a dive watch collector. Boutique dive watch brands will always have a special place in dive watch collections, because since the early heyday of dive watches, boutique brands have been around, whether it's Squale or Doxa, or many other brands that are now heritage brands that were originally boutique brands. Zelos is following in a tradition of using robust materials and unique design elements to bring a contemporary dive watch that's still sort of part of the lineage of dive watch design. And of course, with this bronze model, you're getting that all turned up to 11 proverbially, with a very unique composition of materials. I think that the Zelos is an excellent watch, especially for the buyer who isn't concerned as much about the origins of where the watch came from. It's most likely made in Hong Kong from Chinese parts, but the thing is the manufacturing from those places has basically caught up, and with the right maker such as Zelos here, it doesn't hurt the watch in the flesh at all. What do you think about these small boutique brands? What do you think about the use of crazy materials like meteorite on the dial? I'd love to hear your thoughts about this in the comments below, and if anyone watching is a Mako owner, I'd also love to hear about your long-term ownership experience. Thanks so much for watching. Make sure to give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed the video, and if you're new to the channel here, I'd love a subscription. Thanks a lot. You guys think I'm gonna send you off without a Lume Shot on this beast? No, definitely. Just had to wait till I got some really nice dark lighting and a little time to shoot a Lume Shot. And there you can see the Zelos crown, which is engraved and filled with lume, a nice little touch. Of course, the filled bezel and the awesome huge indices. You know, the lume on the hands is maybe a little small for this watch, but honestly, the overall impression is just, man, this is really a cool, unique lume setup. I'd like to thank Zelos for sending this watch in here for a review. As you guys know, I have had my share of boutique watches that did not meet my standards, and I had to end up either retracting a recommendation or pointing out some BS about the watch. And I haven't had that problem, having owned this watch now for nearly 6 months. And Zelos has also been an excellent company to work with from a reviewer standpoint, and that's sometimes a point that gets overlooked with reviewers. So if they're good to me, the odds are they're going to be good to you as well. I was definitely appreciative of the time that Zelos gave me to review this watch, and walking away from this final review of all of the footage and thoughts that I have about it, I really wholeheartedly recommend the Mako, and think that in particular the stainless steel Mako, which is coming in at $400, is a really excellent alternative to more mainline Seiko offerings at a great price, and they do actually have a stainless bracelet for it now. So anyway, hope you enjoyed this lengthy Lume Shot and my final thoughts about the Mako. Definitely a cool watch, especially in this configuration. Thanks a lot for watching.